9 o'clock. Call this meeting to order at 9 o'clock. Thank you, Alan. And it looks like we have everybody in attendance for our committee.
Team photo.
Yeah. All right. Item 1, that's for the approval of today's ACC agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item 2. Was there a change to the meeting minutes? John,
Yep.
did you have?
Yes. Yes, there's a minor change that was discussed on Tuesday for items 3, 5, and 7. They were tie votes, so majority should be changed to failed on tie vote.
And we have 3 of those.
Yes, 3, 5, and 7 items.
And I don't think we've ever had that happen before. I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of, but. So, John, you made the motion?
Yes, motion to approve with that correction.
Got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. I say we start with item 13 and Bob.
Hey, Bob.
You with us, Bob?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's, my committee have any discussion about this? No questions or discussion?
I think if I remember right, we looked at this property when it was still under the ownership of the builder, and the builder had requested at that point do something similar because it was a request of the buyer or the potential the new owner, and we didn't go forward with it at that time. Is this fairly well consistent with what we looked at back then? Just curious.
Yeah, I think from my mind, it is. I did see that in our minutes from the last time we spoke about this, there was something about the county permission for the fence. I'm trying to remember what we meant by that county permission to put up the dog run, because it is in a wetlands
I
space.
spoke with Michael Kirshner at Planning and Zoning at Whatcom County. He sent me an email regarding the pet fence, stating that as long as it was within 10 feet of the house, which doesn't encroach on their native plant and conservation easement, that it was acceptable. I forwarded that email to Diane on September 10th of last year, and she acknowledged it.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to confirm that we got some kind of record of that. But beyond that, it looks to me, one other question for you. It looks to me like you want a privacy fence on the front of the deck, and then up to the retaining wall, there will be a gate, which would be part of the hog wire. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm proposing.
Okay. Does my committee have any other discussion or questions about this?
Yeah, I guess I had a question on the privacy fence. You know, they're limited to, what is it, 8 feet? And I think you're trying to do 12 feet.
I was told privacy screens could be 5 feet high by 12 feet long by Diane. Is that not correct?
I think it's 6 feet by 8 or something like that. But it seems like the square footage is pretty consistent with what, and it's not a hard fast rule. I personally don't have an issue with it. It's not off of the deck. It's not part of the yard. in my mind, I'm okay with this. I probably wouldn't even require a variance for this. But committee, do you think this would require any variance? It seems like it's sort of an adjunct to the deck and appropriate to what they want for their house.
So you just want the privacy fence on the front of the house, on the portion of the deck that is contiguous with the front of the house?
Yes, that's facing Sudden Valley. When we're on the deck, we have absolutely no screening from Sudden Valley. So people see our grill and furniture and everything else.
Sure, that's reasonable.
I think to be consistent with our policies, this would require a variance request.
Yeah, I think I would agree with John. We probably should have a variance, but I don't see any problems with approval of a variance to do that.
Is that
Probably go-
document available on the website?
It is. It is, Bob. I can get with you offline and get you the form or the link to where it is.
Here's what the actual policy is. Privacy screens. The recommended size of a privacy screen shall be 6 feet high by 8 feet long, but may vary depending on the size of the object being screened. So, in my mind, a privacy variance isn't required, but if we want to it's just a formality in my mind. I think the committee's okay with this in concept. It's just a question of whether the committee thinks we still need a variance.
Yeah, and you could go with 6 feet if you wanted to, instead of 5.
Okay, that would be nice to be able to do that. Alan, if you want to forward the document, I'll be happy to get it completed. And then do I need to get that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Well, let me jump in. Daniel, you had said just a moment ago that we don't think it requires a variance. So
based on what I'm reading right now, directly out of the policies, I don't think so. If he did want to go to 6 feet and do that 12-foot, I would probably ask him to, because it's kind of a change from what we're looking at here.
So let me help Bob with interpreting what the
Go ahead, Alan.
committee is saying. So Bob, if you want to keep it at 5 by 12, as you've described in your request, the committee is saying you're good for it. If you want to increase it to 6 feet, the feeling is that you would need a variance. It is a paperwork formality, quote unquote, and it would go in for the next meeting on the 20th.
Alan, that's my view. If anybody has a problem with that,
I think the policies are pretty specific if there's a variance request. So like on new construction, if you want to do this, or if you want to build something that's outside the specs, you have to have a variance. It seems like this one's a little bit squishy in terms of whether it requires an actual variance. But I would generally agree with Patrick that if he wants to add the additional foot, we don't generally allow anything to be built higher than 5 foot in terms of, perimeter fencing or perimeter barriers or anything like that. So if you wanted to go to the 6 foot, that would, in my mind, definitely trigger a request for a variance. So I would say if, Bob, if you wanted to do the 6 foot fence or the 6 foot privacy screen, I would say we table this approval and then just resubmit it with the 6 foot and the variance request at the next meeting. And I don't think it'd be a heavy lift, but we'll follow the formalities of the variance request then.
Well, I'm happy to do that.
So would it work, Daniel, to make a motion to table this until a subsequent meeting and a resubmission rather than voting to deny it?
I'm not exactly sure of the specifics of tabling. I don't have a problem with denying it unless, Bob, do you want to just go with what you've given us, or do you actually want to pursue the 6 foot?
Based on the questions, why don't we evaluate it as submitted, 5 feet high by 12 foot long? If that alleviates the variance requirement,
Yeah,
we're good with that.
Okay, so as
No.
Alan described, I think is what our motion is.
With
So,
this,
Patrick?
Yeah, I've got a question. It's different, I mean, it would still be considered a privacy fence, even if it's 5 by 12, because it's not open like the hog wire fence is. So that would still make it a privacy fence rather than just a regular fencing.
So what do you mean by that?
Well,
Oh.
if it's screened off completely, it's blocking it. That's a privacy fence versus a regular hog wire fence or what he has, the other fence.
Yeah, I'm calling it a privacy screen.
Yeah. So that would be, if it's a privacy fence, I think you need to do, even if it stays at 5 foot by 5 by 12, it would need a variance. I think we're better off to maybe have a motion to approve the pet fencing and delay the privacy fencing for a variance request coming in later.
Well, let me just reread the privacy screen and see if you still agree with that. The recommended size of the privacy screen shall be 6 feet high by 8 feet long, but may vary depending on the size of the objects being screened. And in my mind, his porch is 12 feet. He's asking for a 12-foot screen. In my mind, that falls under the parameters of what we have in the policies. But we'll vote on whatever the motion is.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe somebody make a motion.
I just want to make sure that we cover the hog wire fence piece of this. That's the second half of it. It looks
Yes.
like it checks all the boxes in terms of location and size and construction materials. So I think that part of it looks good to go in my mind.
Yeah, so I'm okay with everything that he's presented. But somebody make a motion on this.
I thought Patrick just had one.
No,
Was it?
that was just a suggestion. Okay, I move to approve the request as submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. And I think, Bob, if you wanted to do the 6 foot, just, come back with us with that and a variance request. And I don't think you'll have a problem, but you're okay with this.
Yes, sir. Let me discuss that with my wife, and Alan, if we decide to proceed in that manner, I'll reach out to you for the variance doc, or I'll look for it on the website,
Sure,
and we'll proceed in that manner.
sounds good.
Thanks, Bob, and welcome to the neighborhood.
That's a good
Thank you.
suggestion. That's a good
Yes, sir.
suggestion, checking with your wife.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Chair, we have a new attendee, Lori.
Okay. For which property?
Lori, you are on mute. Lori, can you hear us? Okay.
So let's go to David on item 12, 10 Wisteria.
Yes.
Hey, David.
Hi.
Committee, do we have any discussion about this application?
This was just a simple replacement of the existing deck and maybe some upgrades on the railing and so forth.
Which
Yeah,
one are we talking about?
We are talking about item
Well,
12, 10 Wisteria Lane.
In answer to your question, Dan, yes. It's replacing the deck materials and then upgrading the railing,
Yeah, that is correct.
same footprint.
And we've been to this property and they're doing some really nice things. with the shed and just a beautiful house.
On page 2 of 2 on item 12, can we assume that those pictures are not of the existing deck and that's not their view currently? Like,
Yes, you did.
that doesn't look like Sudden Valley, so,
Sun Valley on a bad day.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, it looks fine. If anyone has any other comment, doesn't have any other comment, I'd make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, David, you got more work to do now.
yes, I do. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Is Lori identified yet?
She's off mute. Lori, can you hear us? Oh, she dropped. She's no longer here.
And I thought we sounded pretty friendly on that last one.
Thought so.
Okay, well, then let's go to item 8, 22 Marigold Drive. And John is with us, I believe.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Hello. Okay, so this is for the lighting by the by the boxes, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the only issue we had was ensuring that these are lights that point down. They don't look like the type that would, but I assume that you've looked at that and determined that yes, in fact, that these are lights that will not be pointing in the neighbor's yard. Like you
They
sent
do.
the pictures. I was
They
just
do
concerned
point
about.
down.
Okay. Anybody have any
The
other
area
discussion?
in front of the mailboxes and the front of the mailboxes themselves.
Okay. And are you part of the board or?
I'm the treasurer.
Okay.
Okay,
And it
if
looks
there's
like-
no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. Patrick, please.
Yeah. I move to accept the alteration request for the lights at 22 Marigold.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. You're good, John.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so we have just in attendance, we just have Matt, Chad, and William.
We have Lori
Four.
back.
Is Lori back? What
Yeah,
is she
Daniel.
for?
Let me. That's Lori. Are you okay? I'm asking you to unmute. There we go.
Hello?
Oh, success. Lori, what property are you here for?
Sorry about the technical difficulties. I actually just wanted to join to learn about the committee. I did submit a request for next I got an email back that said it would be on the 20th that you'd review. So I thought, oh, maybe I should participate to learn what I should be prepared to do.
No problem. We'll mark you as an observer.
Welcome.
Okay.
Lori, what's your last name?
It's Vanier, and our property is 193 Polo Park Drive, and we just submitted for a roof. We already have a roof, but just a different roof.
Okay, then you're gonna like our item 3.
Oh.
Stay tuned.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you.
All right, so it's just Lori and then our buddies Chad, Matt, and William.
Yep.
Okay, let's go right to item 4 then. Hi guys.
Hello.
All right, committee. Comments?
I'll
Discussion?
move to approve.
Let's have a little bit of discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to have a little bit of discussion on this.
Gene's smiling.
You
It
can
doesn't
hear.
hurt to try, Joe Jean.
Can I-
Dan, did you have something to talk about here?
Well, I'd like Joel to kind of just walk us through. I mean, I think the issue that we had last time was primarily around the elevation and whether there was a request needed for a variance. It looks like I read through the resubmittal and appreciate the work that Rubicon has done. It looks like they've lowered the house down to where it's not going to require a variance. It's within the height requirements. I'd like verification from Joel that that's measured off of what that's measured off of. Last time we had quite a discussion around the mounding of the dirt in the front yard and using that. So for me, it's going to be important to know that this house is being built within the specs. There's no variance, and it's there's no sort of creative elevation measurements here.
Yeah, Joel, could you kind of run us through our sort of the things that we've been concerned about through the history of this property?
Sure, here. Sure. I'm trying to zoom in on this guy. It's acting a little funny. There we go. Delete this.
Are you sharing your screen, Joel? Because we're not seeing it.
Oh, you're not seeing that?
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Seeing it now?
Yep.
All right. All right, let's see here. We're sure I got the right plan set up. These labels automatically say setback when I measure them. That's their default. But here's their, let's see, what did we put in the report? An inlet. So the house was lowered another 6 inches. It was in the last meeting 19 feet 8 inches and 3/4, and now it's 19 feet 2 inches and 3/4. We're measuring off of the finished grade. So we have our elevation benchmark here at 350 feet of finished grade. The road is 348, so there is a 2 feet rise here where there'll be some plantings. And then if we're measuring off of that 2 feet rise, we measure 10 feet out from the wall, which is detailed here. Whoops. We're measuring out 10 feet from the wall. And then at this point, you'll see here this elevation benchmark. We can measure up from there to the peak of the house. I'm going to grab this point right here. It's the same elevation. We move up. So we confirm that we get the same measurement, 19, 2 inches and 3/4. So that's the top peak of the house.
But
So just to verify, Joel, the 6 inches that the house came down, that the house is physically coming down. The mound isn't coming up 6 inches. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. I think the elevation benchmark is the same there. I think it was 350 feet on the last one.
Okay.
On our last revision. So they did lower the house a little bit more. It does result in a slightly steeper driveway coming down here. So we've updated that also, and in that report with the driveway slope, you'll see that has increased a little bit. So they have lowered the house. But originally on this design, when this was first submitted, their driveway sloped from the road upward, had a little bit of a positive grade to it.
Yeah.
And so they've lowered the house and lowered it. I think maybe 3 times, and they've also adjusted the pitch of the roof to try to lower it. So they've made several changes to get it to where it is now.
Daniel, remind me on in the going forward requirements. Did we change this height measurement definition?
The definition is almost the same. The only difference is we're changing it from the existing grade or finished grade to the existing grade.
Okay.
So we did anticipate this type of, accommodation so that this kind of thing can't happen again. And, I'm just talking within my committee right now, but you can see there's a right there. I mean, right where that measurement happens, 10 feet away, there is a bump. There's a mound of dirt there. I mean, obviously to address the measurement of 20 feet. That's, and that's the problem I have with that, or that's the problem I had with this height all along. And I know that we mentioned early on, if the neighbor across the street who would be affected by this in any way signed off on it, my discussion is over. I would have no problem. And that is the fairness issue that I'm talking about. Instead, the builder decided to put a mound of dirt there and remeasure it. That's been my problem all along with this. And as far as the size of the square footage of your house, I don't care. You can finish the basement. You can finish the whole house. I'm not worried about finished square footage. My only concern was the height and the width and the amount of trees that were being cut on this property. The size of the house is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. I've got a neighbor who has 3 lots. If he wanted to build this house, I wouldn't even flinch. That would be fine with me. Our committee looks at whether the house fits on the lot. So we consider a lot of things, and that's just one of them. I'll get to you guys in a minute for your response. But committee, do you have any other questions or comments about this?
I guess looking at the definitions, I mean, it can be 20 foot at 20 foot elevation at 10 foot vertical, or it can be 30 foot elevation at 5 foot vertical, right?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. And that height and that 5 feet would be taken from the lowest finished grade. So usually that would apply to the backside of a home here.
So what is that like? How does that elevation, or how does that height compare to the one that we're using?
There is a number here at 34, showing 34 feet 9 inches. But that's it's showing to the finished grade. I'm not sure where our 5 right now off the top of my head. I'm not sure where the 5 feet from the wall elevation benchmark is, but it doesn't look too far from. This is measuring 34. That's coming down. We'd pull it off of the wall. If you gave me a few minutes, I might be able to find that exactly. But they only need to make, they do only need to meet one of the height requirements, one of the definitions.
But it doesn't look like they'd meet it on the backside then.
Probably doesn't look like it right now. At least we've been focused on definition 2 for the height. It's probably the easiest one for them to meet.
Yeah, well, given that the property is up against the lake, I mean, a big house on the backside isn't, not like a bunch of neighbors are gonna have to be staring at that forever and ever, but so the front side is the appropriate one. But again, it still looks to me like finished grade is, when I think of finished grade, I think of the construction projects we do, which is there's going to be some elevation changes, but when you stand out there and look at it, it looks relatively contiguous and consistent. I mean, in this case, finished grade is a pile of dirt that's mounded up in front, and it's a landscaping feature. I don't consider that finished. I'm with Daniel. It's not a showstopper. Just get something from the neighbors that's saying like, yeah, what you're proposing here is good, and we're fine with the height. And I went out there when I was there last week and drove around, and I can see where the neighbor across the street might find it interesting to build a house there, because there's just a bunch of trees there now, and they're going to get a better view of the ridge across. But I want to make sure that they're aware that that new unobstructed tree view is going to also include a big square box in the middle of it. So that's my take. I've said a lot about this property already, so.
We'll get to you guys in a minute. John, did you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel.
John, can you get your volume up? I can hardly hear you.
Sure, let me adjust that.
Hey, Daniel, for clarity's sake, the neighbor that we're talking about is at 15 Inlet Circle. That's what we mentioned before.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I'll move my computer closer. I'm not having any luck with the volume.
That's a little bit better.
Patrick, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, great. I just had one housekeeping thing. This is probably just a copy paste thing, but on page 1, the box is checked for a variance request. It says yes. I think that should probably be no. Just my observation.
That's correct.
Right. And then Joel, can we bring up that tree plan, please? I want to point out something with respect to tree number 10. I think it's labeled number 10.
You want to look at just the site plan here, or should we go over to the?
Well, do we have the original tree plan, tree removal plan?
Just on the site plan here, this tree in the back, this 26 maple.
Yes, that's the tree that I'm interested in discussing. So on January the 26th, the committee gave a ruling that that tree, which was labeled number 10, the 26-inch maple, should be, quote, left alone. And when we were out there on Tuesday, and I took some pictures of it, that tree still has a ribbon around it. I want to know, when the builders have their chance to talk, when that ribbon is going to be taken off, because that tree is not destined to be removed.
Sorry, John, that was our mistake. I think we just left it from the original submission.
Okay, yeah, I think we just wanted clarity on that.
Yeah.
So is that Matt speaking?
That was Matt, yes.
Can you tell me when you anticipate that string will be removed, please?
We can get it off, if not by tomorrow, early next week.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, and John, I think we do have that in one of our motions that tree is to be left alone, just for the record.
Yeah, we do. It's on page 3 of our packet. It shows right there on January 26th, comments leave tree number 10 alone. Page 3.
Okay. Let's let Matt talk for a minute.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Sure.
Hey, I just wanted just to point out a couple different things. Number one, just so everyone's familiar, if that was a flat lot, we'd actually be allowed to build a house that was 30 feet tall, right? Because then we would use the other definition. So from the street, it would be 11 feet. Well, not that it would be, but it could be 11 feet taller, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there. So part of what we're dealing with here is just the geography of that lot. Number two, I just wanted to kind of reference Joel's comments that this has been the 3rd time that we've reduced the height. We decided to not go for a variance because of the complexity of that. And we did try to reach out to the owner of lot 15, and it didn't seem likely that was going to be easy to get him to even want to review this. Like, he didn't seem like he wanted to be part of this discussion. And so instead we went ahead and followed the rules of the submittal. And we've now demonstrated twice that we are below the 20-foot threshold. And on the letter that we received on February 7th, it said that we had 4 criteria, that reason for it to be denied. The 3rd one was just to get confirmation from Joel that we met the 20-foot height requirement, and we did at that time. It was denied again, and so we reduced the height another 6 inches, brought the house down. Now our driveway is at 13%, and we've talked lots of times, been in lots of these discussions where you're not liking to have very steep driveways. So we're now all the way down to 13% as we chase lowering that house. I do totally recognize your concern that we've kind of just manipulated the front yard by piling some dirt on there. And I will say that, number one, it does serve a legitimate purpose of buffering the house from the street. Number two, we could reduce that pile by up to almost a foot and we'd still be under the 20-foot restriction. So it would be, we just left it the way it was there because we didn't want to just keep changing everything over and over again. And you know, I think if Joel wants to step in again, but it shows that based on the criteria that the ACC has been using to evaluate this house, it does meet the requirements. And so I'm asking that it gets approved the way that it is. But I do want to clarify, we can reduce the mound if that's something that you want to do, but we'd still be under that 20 feet. We could change that number to 20 feet and just reduce the mound by, you know, the whatever it is, 10 inches or 9 1/4 inches as well. And the last thing I would say is that this is just a 2-story house. It doesn't have any large ceilings. I think we have 8 feet on one floor, 9 feet at the other floor. The roof is a 212 pitch. It's about as flat as a roof that you can get. And just about every house in Sun Valley has, you know, a lot of those, I mean, almost all of them on the water, there are at least 2-story houses. So I think it really fits in with the neighborhood and kind of meets the standards that have been pre-existing. Okay,
Well,
I think I'm done. Thank you for listening.
I acknowledge this is a difficult lot to build on, and you know, you're trying to build within Sun Valley's policies, and you're trying to make your client happy. I understand that. I think what we got here is a compromise. In my mind, I'm okay with it. I wouldn't want to be the neighbor across the street, but I think you've made accommodations. One question I had about the your letter about the unfinished space. What was that? Are you under the assumption that we don't want you to have finished space in the house?
Yeah, that's a good question, Daniel. Thanks for asking that. I mean, the last letter we received simply said that the house was too large, so we weren't sure where you were going with that. You've already clarified. You said you don't mind if we finish that space out, and I think Scott is going to you're calling him William, is going to want to finish that space out. But if that was what was necessary, he had told us that we could remove that as finished space. But
no, I think whenever we say a house is too big, I mean, we're saying too big for the lot. And it has absolutely nothing to do with your finished space. And if you want to put a sewing room in there, that's fine with us. We don't care.
Okay.
You know, we're looking at, you know, how many trees are you going to cut down? How does this affect the neighbors? Is it consistent with the lot? And I know it's a difficult situation for you to be in to kind of interpret how we see something as too big. Initially, this was too big. I mean, it was too high. It was, and the width was, you know, right at the edge. So we look at a lot of different factors, and this is an iterative process, like I say all the time. I feel like we've made some kind of compromise here. And again, if you want to finish that space, I don't think anybody in the committee has any issue with that.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay.
That's where I'm with it.
Patrick? Do we
Patrick,
have Joe Jean's motion? Is that still standing then to approve?
anybody else have any comments?
I have a question for Joel.
Sure.
So when with respect to the drainage culvert that goes down and around to the lake, is it appropriate to ask the builder that when they get plans approved by Whatcom County, that they submit those plans to us just for the record? Is that an appropriate request?
Yeah, we part of when they come onto their so after they get the ACC approval and they come back for their blanking on the name, their like pre-construction compliance review meeting, that's where before Sun Valley issues their version of a permit, their revocable encroachment permit application, Sun Valley does ask for or require a copy of the county approved, stamped and approved plan set. So at that time, county should be reviewing and seeing this culvert going down the side of the house there. And yeah, we can look for that on the plans and make sure it's consistent with what they've submitted here. So yeah, that's part of the process.
Excellent. And just one quick comment for the committee. When Daniel and I were out there on Tuesday, we took a look at that right side of the property just to make sure that no trees were going to be impacted. Well, they won't be impacted because they're all coming down. So it's pretty much a clear space right down to the lake for that culvert, just so the committee knows.
So I think Joe Jean had a motion, unless anybody else has any comments.
Yeah, I just want a quick comment. Appreciate Rubicon working with us. I know this has been a torturous process at some point. I still don't like the approach of measuring off of what's called the fixed grade here, but like you said, Daniel, this is a reasonable compromise, given that we're trying to just clear this off using the old approaches and old rules. So hopefully we won't have this problem going forward. Yeah, just wanted to make sure we got that on the record. Thank you guys for working with us. I know this has been hard, so.
Appreciate it.
I
Thank
also
you.
want to echo Dan's comments and that we appreciate that we have a slightly different approach now with these meetings, that people are raising their hands and not interrupting each other, and we certainly do appreciate that effort by Rubicon.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we got a motion on the table. Could you repeat? Do you have that, Alan?
I do have Joe Jean's motion, but it was simply to approve.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, guys.
Thank you.
Is that all we have, Alan, for
That is
attendees?
other than Lori, who's an observer.
Okay, well, let's go to item 3. 14A Inlet Circle.
I'll move to approve as submitted.
Okay, this just so Lori knows, this is a roof submittal. I think they're just replacing a roof with a tin roof.
The old roof was not installed properly. It's leaking, and so it's not like for like. They're upgrading to metal, I believe.
Yeah, I think they'll be happy with that. So we have a motion on the table from Joe Jean. All in
I'll
favor?
move. It's fine.
Aye.
All right.
All opposed? Okay. Let's go to item 5, 88 Windward Drive.
I'm going to step away for just a minute. I'll be back.
Okay. All right, this was a tree that I think we approved one removal, and we asked for an arborist report for this one. We got the arborist report. The tree doesn't seem like it's dead, but it's it could be healthier, and the owner wants to cut it down. So what do we think?
I'll move to approve.
I was going to say that.
Joe Jean's just taken over.
I got
All
Joe
in
Jean. Yeah.
All
Go
in
ahead.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item 6. 50 Lake Louise Drive. Dan, it sounds like you know this property.
Yeah, this is on our walk down to the lake, when we go down to walk around Lake Louise. And this thing has been an eyesore, man. Like, it's a weird property. You go by it and there'd be random times of the day where it sounded like the TV was on full blast, and then but no lights on. And then there was times where there was like things were kind of all almost boarded up. And then I noticed one time there was like almost like a foreclosure notice pasted on the window, and I thought there. So it looks like it's got new life. My wife said she went by the other day and they were doing a bunch of work on the inside, cleaning it up and painting and stuff like that. So I'm happy to see this this property getting some new life to it. It was getting kind of abandoned.
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
That's
Okay,
John.
that one's John's.
Item
He was
6.
just waiting for that one.
Item 6, move to approve exterior alteration request 50 Lake Louise Drive.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, item 7. 18 Nighthawk Drive. Or as Patrick likes to call it, Nighthawk No, he called it drive, and I think it was circle.
It is circle.
Yeah.
It is circle. Okay, so we got it right on the agenda, but not on the application. So you're forgiven, Patrick.
Just so the committee knows, Patrick, Daniel, and I visited the property, and the owner, Lucas, was there to speak with us.
And what he requested seemed pretty reasonable to me. I think he wants 3 removals and
Right.
2 limbings. And I think I would have done the same thing, so I'm cool with it. Any other comments?
I move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. We are on number 9.
Item 9.
46 Harborview Drive.
And again, for the committee's information, Patrick, Daniel, and I visited this property. There was no one home, so we just kind of looked around.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. You know, the 2 trees in the front, did they look like they were on the setback or Sudden Valley property? I couldn't quite tell. They were right up against the driveway. I could see that they affect the driveway. I'm not sure taking them down is the best solution for him. I've got no objection if he wants to, but I wonder if they are on Sudden Valley property.
The 2 in the front were part of the retaining wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were growing out of the wall.
Right.
Yeah. The 2 in the front are private property. The question of Sudden Valley property is the left.
Yeah, but I was just wondering on my own. I didn't have any other reason to think that. But if you can confirm that that's on their private property, that's fine.
The one below or
the 1 and 2 that say remove
by the driveway?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, if you have clarification on that, that's fine with me. But yeah, I think, and then the other one that was on, they're not sure about.
On the left.
Yeah. The other number 1.
We received 2 requests. One's tree removal requests. One was for clearly trees that were on Sudden Valley, and then this one, which was on private property. And so that one in the middle is kind of uncertain at that time.
So, okay. So all of these trees are on his property except for
the one on the left.
The one on the left.
Can we
second number 1, if you will.
And that one he only wants to limb.
Right.
Well, can we talk about this a little more detailed? I'm looking at page 1 of item 9. When we were there, there's a tree. If you're looking at the little drawing that they have there, there's a tree right below where the key on that drawing is. So, pretty close to the driveway, and it's got a ribbon on it. I'm not sure what is that the second number 1, or is that just a totally different thing, and is that on Sudden Valley property?
Yeah, the tree that we looked at and that was ribboned was in front of the house. It wasn't behind the house. So we were a little confused about that. And there was definitely a ribbon on this tree.
Okay.
Again, on the drawing, it's right below the word tree in the key. The little key thing there.
Yeah, I think that the drawing could be improved. I think there's a little ambiguity. I don't mind contacting him and getting this straightened out. We want to be, if there's any doubt in anyone's mind after the tour visit, let's take a moment and get this.
Yeah, because it was definitely in front of the house.
Yeah.
And whose property is that on the other side there? Because there's like a little tent. There's a strange little
like a portable sauna.
Yeah.
And a canoe and like a little party central there.
Yeah. I do not know.
Is somebody living there?
I do not know.
Because it's not on it's not on 46 Harborview. It's on the other side there. And it's not even really close to another house, if I recall.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's right in the middle of nowhere, and it's got an ancient foundation of some
Yeah, it
small
looks like it was
structure.
built in an old ruins, and it's a plastic structure with a chimney in the middle of it. So
To answer your
might be
question,
something for our compliance manager to check out.
And then there was the chain on the wall. I don't know if that's to retain prisoners or what.
It looked a little weird.
so Daniel, you'll have to submit an email to Alan. He doesn't take verbal requests.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In answer to your question, Alan, there is concern about what's called tree number 1 limb. It
Yeah.
says not sure if it's on our property.
Right.
There's a tree up there. It's got a ribbon on it. And I'm not sure if that's tree number 1 there that's ribboned or tree number 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a pretty big tree. The 3, 4, 5, and 6 trees, they look pretty scraggly and they're relatively small. I think they're alders. I think those are good to be removed. And the 2 in the front, number 1 and the 2 by the road.
Yes.
So I'm good with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But 7 and the second number 1 are the outlying questions that I have.
Agreed.
Plus
Well,
the other tree ribbon, the trees that's ribboned down by the driveway.
I counted them, and those 7 trees go across the back there. And it was one of the smaller ones. So, number 7 is not the one.
Patrick, you think that's one of the alders? It looked like the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go with that, John? Does that make sense to you? That's kind of how I remembered. I don't remember 7 being anything other than similar to those other alders. Do you remember that differently?
No, if that's your recollection, that sounds good. I think we just want to be really well. There's just the questions about which trees are on the Sun Valley property.
I think if what I'm getting at is if I start with the drawing at the bottom at Harbor View, and we move counterclockwise, trees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
That they're on his property.
I think so.
And then not sure if on our property, number 1, limbing. If you wanted to approve 1 through 7 counterclockwise, and deny the limbing of number 1, we can take that off of this request, move ahead with the others, and then I'll talk with Noah and Louise and see if we have more clarity, because I can also check on the SVCA request, the ones that were adjoining.
And when you talk to Noah and Annalise, can you also ask them about that tree down by the driveway that's got a big ribbon around it?
Sure. The one that is close by where the key is, right?
Correct. Right below the key.
Got it.
Closer to the road.
Got it.
Yes. Otherwise, I agree with everything you said, Alan and Patrick.
Yeah, I do too.
All right. Patrick, you want to be the author, and then I'll just
Sure.
Okay.
I move to approve the request for removal of trees 1 through 7 on 46 Harbor View Drive.
The ones that are indicated in the property.
Yes. And deny the limbing of the other tree on the other number 1 for limbing until it's determined whose property it's on.
Got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay. Let's move on to item 10. This is our in concept. There were a couple things that stood out for me on this one. The size of the driveway, since the driveway will now be included in property coverage in our new policies. it does stand out as kind of a large driveway. It takes up almost as much space as the house. So that's something I would ask the builder to consider. And I think John was the one who brought up the treatment of the stairways and under the stairways, and if there could be a more elegant solution to that rather than just 4x4 posts. Was that you, John?
That's a question, whether the committee thinks that front stairway that goes up to the left and then up to the right needs some kind of skirting.
Yeah, we've generally asked for that kind of thing with some of these builds. A lot of times we ask for similar to the siding on the house, but we're looking for whatever solution the designers want to approach. But at this point, it looks a little spare and unfinished in my mind.
With respect to the driveway, the diagram shows it being 15 foot wide, which is underneath the 20. And it's got that little thing like if you're backing out of the garage to back into that little parking area and then drive out. So
yeah,
it's not really over the limitations that we have of the 20-foot drive.
No, but we do have property coverage to consider for
Right.
this. So it may be fine. It may be fine, but it is something we'll be looking at a little closer for the actual submittal.
In terms of the skirting, I'm kind of a minimalist. I don't really like that skirting. A lot of times I think it ends up looking kind of boxy and cheap with if they go with like some lattice. I don't really have a problem with the 4x4 posts there. I mean, if they're treated and we've got kind of that look, I think it ties in, they've got that with the little bit of a entryway there. Might all kind of tie in together with a nice wood look, but
yeah, I agree with that, Dan. I don't like a lot of the solutions that a lot of the builders come up with for that. I'm not crazy about just the bare 4x4s. And these are, right now we're just letting the builder know how the committee feels generally. This may be fine. We may approve it as is, but I'm telling you what I'm thinking. John's telling you what he's thinking. Dan's telling you what he's thinking. This is just an in-concept review, so take it any way you want. And I'm a designer, so I'm looking at this house and I'm seeing how many different kinds of windows. And the layout of the windows is a little wonky to me. We usually don't touch on these things, but as a designer, I can't shut up about these kind of.
yeah, what is that above the garage there? It looks like that almost may be like a bedroom with it's got a pretty big window, and then there's like a little bathroom window there.
Yeah.
So is that like a mother-in-law suite, or is that a bedroom? I mean, do they have floor plans?
Yeah, I think there's a floor plan in here. It looks a little bit bizarre from the front. I mean, I'm not going to deny it because of that, but just my 2 cents. If you're trying to sell the house, it looks a little weird for my eye.
It's a primary bedroom, page 10.
It's the master bedroom.
Let me know if you'd like me to zoom in on anything here. I can show things on the screen.
Sure, why not, Joel? Appreciate it.
Page 10.
Got the plan set up here. 8, 9, 10. This page?
Yeah. It's at the top as it's viewed now, and it'll be on the right shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
I'm looking at
main floor plan or the
main floor plan.
It's not our job to comment on interiors really, but it's a weird layout. Like if this is the master bedroom, you still have to go out into the hallway to go into the bathroom. Oh no, never mind. I changed my mind. There's the primary bathroom.
The closet there. Yeah. Yeah, it just really struck me as a strange arrangement of windows, and it just looks awkward to me from the outside, but that is something we can look at, but I'm not going to hold them to that.
Well, like we discussed, we're just approving in concept and, it doesn't really bind us on the final approval.
I think
Right.
the main thing
I
for
think-
main thing for an in concept, I'd look at like, are they within vertical height, square footage, lot size, driveway slope, and all of that appears to be pretty consistent, right?
I think so.
We haven't done, because this is an in concept, they haven't paid their application fee and we haven't done an in-depth review on things. So we haven't confirmed things like height and property coverage, open space rules, driveway. You can see some of the numbers on here. Right, and so an 8% greater driveway, assuming those are all correct, should satisfy the requirement, but just so you know, we haven't done that in-depth review yet until they submit.
Well, what we will do is share, if it's okay with the committee, is share some of your comments back to the builder so they get a sense of, what you guys thought.
Yeah, I think that's what they're looking for, and
Yeah.
we want to
Yeah.
catch them as early as possible with our concerns.
So, may I speak for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this is a really productive conversation. I'd like to point out page 5. Maybe Joel, you could bring up page 5 for us, please.
This one?
Yeah. At the very bottom, there's a tree that's designated to be removed. I'd want the builder to address why that tree needs to be removed. It's a 16-inch fir. It looks like it's sufficiently away from the foundation. And I question why that one is scheduled or destined to be removed according to these plans. So that would be a question for the builder as they move through this. That's the comment that I have. I think everything else that people have said is very helpful and useful. I just want to reiterate what Patrick was saying, that in-concept reviews are non-binding. And so that means we can, make a decision today, one way or the other. And then when the application comes in, we can make further determinations. But our preliminary review in concept today is, even though we can vote on it, it is non-binding.
Yes, I guess the motion would be that we did review this and we made comments.
Agreed.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Let's go to item 11 Oval Court. We're starting to see this one every week.
Go, Gene.
Pardon me.
Do you want a motion?
I'll move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, I think we've got one more. Item 14, 197 Valley Drive, a resubmission. I think we'll need your help on this one, Joel.
We do not have anybody, the builder is not here with us, right?
No, this is, I believe this is John Gordon and Arrow.
So I think our initial concern was that this property would be clear cut for this house. And I think one of the suggestions we made was maybe moving the house over to avoid cutting some of the trees. John and I think it was just John. Patrick, I don't think Patrick was there for this one. We went and visited it last Tuesday, and it appears that every tree is still ribboned to be cut. So I'm not sure what the purpose of the move was at this point. Do you see anything different from that, Joel, or can you even tell? it may be a case like with Chad and Matt where they didn't take the ribbons off some of the trees, but I didn't see any tree that would have been saved by the new ribboning that we saw on Tuesday. And I think, Joel, didn't you make a comment that maybe another tree is going to have to be cut down because of this?
It's interesting in looking at what Joel's presenting. In the lower left-hand corner of the foundation there, they basically pivoted the house instead of moving it parallel to the property line and the setback. They just pivoted the house on that back left corner, yeah, right there. And what is curious to me is there are trees ribboned there, I think several of them, and they're pretty darn big, but I don't see them on here as destined to be removed. And that was kind of the whole point of asking to move this house more toward the center and not just pivot it away from that corner. The corner is still in the original spot, but there are big trees back in that lower right-hand corner that are not on this plan. My other comment would be...
That's a good point, John. Those are significant trees, as I recall, and they should be on this, shouldn't they? Yeah, there's one right there. And I think there was one that kind of sprawled onto the neighbors, maybe just part of the root system was on the neighbor's yard.
Oh, that one right there.
Hey, Joel, you're muted if you're saying something.
We're missing a lot of wisdom.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have not been talking the whole time, but yeah, so I'll recap a little bit. Hang on here. Oh, so they have marked this tree down here by the property line as a save. So they're making an effort to save that tree. And then the comment I think came up, they might have some additional trees to remove. So they have marked some trees for removal up above here, highlighted them in green as this house kind of pivots around that or rotates around that back, that rear right corner of the home. So here's our tree canopy plan. This was original with the submittal, and it, did have those two trees up above or to the left side of the home as retained. And I think I made the comment originally. I was like, yeah, these trees, they are within that excavation limit and that construction limit, so they might need to be removed anyway. And then with the rotation of the home, they probably are going to need to be more impacted.
Have you talked to them while they're making these changes?
Only via emails from John Gordon.
Because I'm wondering what did they think we were asking for? I mean, just pivot it because it would look better? It's not really saving any trees, is it? Alan, did you have something?
I did. Just wanted to say one possible thing that they could have attempted to address by pivoting it was increase the distance on the right side between the back of the house and the neighbor's house.
Yeah, there's some trees over here that I think they're attempting to save with that pivot or that rotation.
Okay. I mean, they couldn't cut those anywhere. They were the neighbor's trees.
Yeah, they might need to, obtain a permission for the neighbor to remove it, but at least in this way, they're making an effort to impact those trees to a lesser extent.
Dan, I think it was you who suggested the pivot. Is that right?
Yeah, I was looking back at the last action. Relocate the house to the center of the lot to preserve the trees between lot 77 and the house. I think that's what we were trying to do there.
Yeah, do you think this is an effective approach?
Yeah, maybe that was the word pivot does come to mind. Like why can't you just slide it rather than slide it, just turn it a little bit?
Yeah, and again, when we when we make these suggestions, these are just, it's up to the builder to address the main problem, not just do exactly what we say, because you know that the builders know the issues far better than we do. So I think the builders need to look at our main concerns rather than our solutions, because we don't have the solutions for you. We can make suggestions though, and maybe that needs to be clearer, Alan, when we do our letters.
Sure.
Or our emotions even. So how do you feel about where we are now, Dan, based on what we were concerned about before?
Well, I think I was looking at those trees along the neighbor's property there, and it did look like he pivoted off the back corner. He pivoted the house, so went from a 5-foot setback to maybe a 8 or 10-foot setback in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah.
There is an extent. Joel, can you pull up their landscape plan? It's pretty extensive. I think if they were to put these trees in as, established trees, maybe 10 feet rather than just saplings, I could see them just putting saplings in there, but it does look like some nice trees. If they could put substantial sizes in there, that might make up for, they're essentially clear cutting the lot. But if they replant these trees and they're, substantial trees, maybe 10 feet, or we can make that determination, would that sort of make up for what else they're doing? We've got Douglas firs there. We've got some, is there a dogwood in there too? Yeah. Cedars, which could be pretty big trees, but
Yeah.
I think I would insist that they be a decent sized tree.
I'd rather see less trees and more like substantial initial plantings.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, that would be my comment too. It's like, on our lot when we bought it, they threw 24 Leland cypress trees on there, and we ended up taking 3/4 of them out just as young trees, sold them to people in town just because they were going to end up being a mess all over the place. So better off to have bigger ones.
Which ones are you marking, Joel?
I'm just marking the Doug firs, the dogwoods, western red cedars. There's some more labeled on here, like these. There's vine maples. These are I think the tallest trees. Cascara, serviceberry. Those might maybe shrub. So I'm not sure.
Do they indicate the size that they plan to plant?
It doesn't. Oh, hang on. Douglas fir, serviceberry. Those are trees up here. So there are some more trees on here. So it looks like a total of 13 trees to be planted. 50 shrubs. I don't see a minimum like height or a size they're indicating.
Okay.
Is there a diameter of the tree? I think I may have seen something that could be synonymous with height. No, that's just the planting area.
Not that I am seeing.
I'm seeing one Douglas fir now, but the drawing indicates Oh, is that one Douglas fir on the top?
And Doug fir up here in the back.
Okay. So the rest are cedars and maples?
Yeah, there's one cedar up in the front. There is dogwoods. Looks like a lot of them are dogwoods. And some vine maples. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 dogwoods. So that's 3 dogwoods, 4 vine maples.
So I'm not sure exactly what those look like, but I would like to put height limits on these, so they're just so they're not saplings or anything like that. Would that be a good enough compromise for the fact that they're cutting all these other trees down? What does the committee think about that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Could I make a suggestion? May I
Go ahead, John.
jump in? Joel's got it up on the screen there. The 2 trees, in the neighbor's property, 16-inch cedar and 12-inch cedar. I think I would like to have the neighbor sign off on at least the 16-inch cedar, whether they think it should be taken down or not. The critical root zone of that tree certainly goes beyond 9 feet to the foundation wall. And I think what we might be looking at is a tree that's maybe going to be okay for now. Who knows when they start excavating and they run into roots and stuff. But, 2 or 5 years from now, that tree's going to die, maybe both of those trees. I'd like to see the neighbors have some input into whether the builder should take those trees down or something along those lines.
Whether the neighbor's okay with it if it needs to come down, or
not, or if they think it they're okay with it not coming down, or if they think it, just one way or the other, that this tree is still pretty close to the foundation wall. I mean, 9 feet, I can, it's across the room from where I'm sitting. It's really close.
What do you think, Joel? Is that safe where it is? Or, I mean, I would at least ask for protection around these trees when they're cutting all the other trees down.
yeah, I mean, I would always defer to an arborist to evaluate the tree for the damage or impact. During either evaluate it before based on the plans or during construction when the excavation is performed. You keep in mind that the wall here, that setback is indicated at 8 feet or 11 inches, but the excavation might extend a couple feet from where that wall is because they have to have a footing in that area.
All right, well, let's get a arborist evaluation on those 2 trees. And if they're going to stay, I think we need to insist on some sort of protection around them.
And the arborist evaluation could be twofold. It could be just what the condition of the trees are now, and then also with respect to being, according to Joel, being 7 feet from the excavation of that foundation. Does an arborist think that those trees are going to live a long and healthy life, or are they going to fail in the near future?
Yeah, that should be clear on the arborist report.
Is there a house on the adjacent lot?
Yes.
It's a corner lot, and there's houses on both sides.
Okay. Well, I think maybe in addition to the arborist report, which would look at the future impact of those trees, maybe get a comment from the owner if it looks like the trees would be damaged. Do they want those trees taken down?
Yeah.
On their property.
Yeah, I would like the neighbors' input on that.
Okay, it's the Windward side, correct? Or is it the Sudden Valley side?
The trees that are highlighted in the picture right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. The 16
The
inch,
bottom side.
The
I'm
bottom
not sure what
side.
that is.
16,
South.
South
16
side.
inch cedar and 12-inch cedar.
Yeah, south side.
Those two trees right there.
So I guess we'll deny until we get that report, or is there a way around that?
Can
No,
I,
you're denying.
can I ask Joel for one final thing? I'd like to go over these details.
Sure.
So just real quick, driveway slope is either 15.3% or 18%, depending on which number we're using. Property coverage is 31.6%. Open space coverage is 59.8%. My question for Joel is, let's take a look at the definition number 2. It's right at 20 feet. And since we've been talking about height so much lately, can we determine how that number has been arrived at?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
Here is I might have some, let's see, if I was in the truck, but yeah, let's go through it together. So I'll take you through the normal process. So here's where they have marked it as 20 feet. And they're measuring off this natural grade here, and that natural grade on this plan is marked at 100 feet elevation. And it looks like it extends, 10 feet from the wall here. So it looks consistent there. That 20 feet goes up to the high limit. Now we could measure it if we needed to, but there it is, 20 feet. So that, let's see, where is it? 100 feet elevation, 10 feet from the wall. On our topo lines here, we would look for that 100 feet elevation, 10 feet from the wall, because we're looking for the highest. So if we're measuring from the wall, there's about 10 feet. And it is measuring from finished grade. They are showing, this is their plan. So at least have some natural grade there. Their driveway is going to slope down from that. So this might indicate a little bit of regrading to maintain 100 foot. That's what they're showing here. It doesn't seem unreasonable from where they're going to have these existing topo lines are between 100 and 98. So the existing stuff that might be halfway between might be 99. Are you still following me?
Yeah, I'm following you. It looks like, so that right now the elevation is being measured off of a spot on the topo that's showing 100 feet.
Yeah, where do we go here?
Is it?
So this natural grade they have indicated here, this dashed line, would represent a little bit of regrading there.
So that represents 100 foot. Is
10 feet from the wall? Yeah.
So that says natural grade. That's not the original grade.
This would probably be the finished grade if it's at 100 feet, right? And it maintains this 100 feet up to 10 feet to the 10 feet horizontal from the wall of the house. Because on the plans here, they're 100-foot line. The topo line is a little bit more than 10 feet from the house.
Yeah. So basically, wherever you see the 100-foot elevation line, at that point, the house is going to be whatever it was, 19 feet or something. If you were standing there, wherever your feet are at on the 100-foot line, measured from your feet up, that's going to be the top of the house. So if you keep going down in topo, the house is going to get taller. So, I mean, they're meeting the letter of the law, but that house is going to look taller than, what's the limit? What do they have on there now? What's the height from the 100-foot elevation, Joel?
20 feet.
20 feet, yeah. So it's basically going to be 20 feet from the highest spot on the property, but the highest spot on the property is only a small portion of the property. So wherever you walk around that property, it's going to be higher than 20 feet. but the point of measurement is 20 feet.
From the finished grade, not the original. So we're kind of looking at the same scenario from our previous discussion. It's like pile up a bunch of dirt and then take a measurement from that.
Well, no, they're actually the other way around. They're measuring based on the dirt that's there now, and then they're going to excavate that dirt for the driveway at least. If Joel zooms in on that topo down there, you can see the 100-foot elevation line is right there. That's what they're measuring from. They're measuring from that 100-foot elevation line, but that 100-foot elevation line is going to change when they excavate the driveway. So the only part of that property that's still going to remain at 100 feet, unless they regrade it, like Joel said, is going to be that kind of that little sliver there at the top. The rest of it's going to be 98, 97. So if you're standing on the front of the house, it's going to be 20 feet from where your feet are at. If you're standing on that 100-foot line, it's going to be 22 feet from where your feet are at if you stand on the 98-foot line. So they're going to have to regrade that front yard to stay within the 20 feet. I mean, they're, like I said, they're meeting the letter of the law, or they're meeting the letter of the regulations. But yeah, the house is going to look taller than 20 feet when you're standing there. So what's the driveway or the Sudden Valley, Joel? What's the elevation at, like on
Sudden Valley Drive? Looks like kind of the edge of the pavement. Here's the 100 line. Here's 102 more in the middle of the road.
Yeah. So if you're walking down the street or driving down the street, I mean, from where you're sitting, the house it's going to look 20 feet. I mean, you're eyeballing it. It's going to be 20 feet from there. And I guess I look at that more than anything is like, what's it going to look like to the people walking down the road or the neighbors next door, as opposed to, you know, standing in the driveway.
And if you're on the road here, it might look less because the driveway does slope down a fair amount.
Right. So if you're walking the perimeter of the property, at least in the front on the drive, it's not going to look, the house is going to be sunk down. It's not going to be propped up.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Look, Joel, when you zoom in on that upper right hand, when it says natural grade, I just need some clarity here. What does that mean? Is that the finished grade or is that the original grade?
I think it's both. This looks like it represents both the finished, what would be the finished grade, and I think it's labeled natural grade to show that, hey, this is where it's going to be dirt and not driveway, right? Not concrete. It's going to be like natural, like dirt, bark, organic. Does that make sense?
So we don't know.
I think that's why he's labeling it natural, and he could label it probably finished grade, and it would be the same thing.
So we don't know what the existing grade is.
The existing grade is represented by these topo lines here. The existing grade at that location, 10 feet from the wall, is somewhere between 98 and 100 feet. So maybe 99.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and also he's not obstructing the neighbor's view of the lake. And it is, the road is higher. You're looking down on the house a little bit. In my mind, that's how I see it. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was kind of consistent with the neighboring houses.
Hey, Alan,
Yes.
do we have a time check, please?
We do 10:30. We've been talking for 25 minutes.
I think we need to move on.
Well, it's actually the last item.
I know, I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
25 minutes is, I turn into a pumpkin.
Do you have a motion?
Well,
Go ahead, John, make a motion.
Come on, John.
sure. I would move to deny this with the following comments, and maybe others have more comments too, but I think the builder needs to have an arborist report on the two trees on the neighbor's property, 16-inch cedar and 12-inch cedar, to determine if those trees will survive the foundation excavation and so forth. And so an arborist report, and then also get the neighbors' input as to what they think about those trees, whether they think they should come down or stay. So that's part of the motion. Were there other concerns?
I think the other concern was the size of the trees planted, but I don't think we need to address that at this point. The height issue in my mind is, they're pushing it a little bit, but considering the lot, I'm okay with it.
So I've
So-
got,
Go ahead, Alan.
I was just gonna say, I've got a deny with those two things that you mentioned, the neighbor's input and then the arborist report.
That sounds right.
That's the motion.
Okay.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. We will, that's it then, right?
Yeah.
Then we will adjourn at 10:32. I see John turning into a pumpkin over there. We
Well
done
done,
recording?
everybody.
We done recording, Alan?